Okay.
All right, I am back with one of my favorite guests on my channel. This is Kara. Kara, thank you so much for coming back into my channel, having this discussion with me because, girl, we've been going down some deep dives in conversation, and we decided we really need to kind of share this with people. So, how are you doing first?
I am excellent, Ellen. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, we've been discussing how we truly are, just, oh gosh, this great awakening. It's a painful birthing process, basically.
Really
You
is.
know, it's like, how many more pains do we have to go through, and weirdness and high strangeness? And yeah, it's chaotic. I'm getting exhausted, not only just daily practice, but, just watching this whole thing, this drama unfold. Yeah. Anyway,
It's
let's
a lot.
let's dive right in. So
Let's do
you
it.
and I, we were having a phone conversation before we went live here, or not live. It's not really live. It's pre-recorded because I was like, well, I don't own Zoom account anymore. And I was like, I'm going to let this go and just use the 40-minute setting. And we might have to stop and rewind and
Part two and three. No, I'm kidding.
who knows how this is going to go. But we were having a conversation. I had a download the other morning, or dawn, AM, whatever you want to call it. It's not morning because I wasn't in sadness, but it was in my awakening state of mind where I was in this conversation. I was just allowing other entities or beings or whatever to kind of talk to me. And this melanin skin type of voice came in and said, because I was questioning this whole, are we part of artificial intelligence already? Do souls actually come? Like, is Saturn based in artificial intelligence? And somehow that energy is in like an artificial sense of darkness and then pulled into the light to where we become light beings. And then are we essentially some form of artificial intelligence that has evolved? Was my question because of what we're learning about cloning and all of this, and how this is going with the artificial intelligence that's being combined. So this voice came into my head and it said, we are VRV9 demonic. And I was like, what? I'm like, I gotta remember this, because I was like in that sleep state where you're awake, but you don't really want to wake up fully, and you're like, what? I'm like, I gotta remember this term. I've never heard it before. And so I'm putting it out there, and I started talking to Kara about this, and she was like, oh my God, do you see what I see? And so Kara, show the people what you found, because I'm finding it different because I'm using DuckDuckGo as a search browser.
So
And
I just used Google and I typed all lowercase VRV9 space demonic. And what came up, I don't know how to, I can't show, you're not
do
going to be
you
able to.
have a share screen? You have a share screen option on your it should be down at the bottom. If you kind of roll your cursor down, whether it's on your phone or whatever device you're using. I'm trying to turn off
I'm
my.
still not going to be able to see it on my phone. You know what I mean? Because I didn't
Oh, okay.
download
Well, I'll go show what I have. So I'm going to go
Yeah,
share
send them
screen.
the picture that I sent you. Anyway, I'm going to keep talking.
Here's this. Now,
Um,
I don't have the phone upload because that's on my phone, what you sent me.
mhm.
But so this is when I put them together like this is the images that pop up. But
So
what I
what came up on my phone is it's very interesting because no matter what link or thread came up, there's something from, for instance, Defense Technical Information Center. It's a PDF, 1980, VRV9, and then it says radical, and then it says components of velocity in a stationary frame, just random crap. And then
Mhm.
it says dot, 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 demon. Then you go to another link. And like if you just start looking down, so then here's something else. It's from a heroes community. And none of this makes any sense. It's almost like code or something. So the first thing it says script rework question mark in blue. And then below that says October 5th, 2009. it exclamation, exclamation, VRV9, and then all these different like letters and numbers and punctuation. And then it brings up words like vampire, spirit of oppression. Then you go down, and again, whatever these numbers are is what is being tagged in when you look it up. So like this one comes up, devil's cannon, cannabis. This comes up where devil basketball, and it's got, again, all of these you guys can do it yourself, VRV9, and it just brings up these random links, demons of the damned. So if anybody has any information, and a lot of this, again, it looks like code, and then the word demon will be in the middle of the code. And so this, I mean, this means something. You got to download from something, Ellen. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't.
So go over that. You were going over the gematria of it too.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
was kind of interesting what you had found about the gematria of the
Okay.
VR and the V9.
So, the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet is related to number six, and which is V. And then you go to what letter?
Are you on a website or something?
I just typed it in.
What did you
So
put? Just the gematria?
yeah, I said, what number is V in the Kabbalah?
Oh, okay. Well, let's do this. What number?
And if I can find, I've typed in so much since then. And then number 9 symbolizes in the Kabbalah is the sun, which is interesting. Um, hang on just a second. I should have saved that. How I got that. Letter.
So R is 9, right?
And so, okay, so then the number 9. So this is the table of Hebrew and Chaldee letters. And it says the number 9, the sound is T as in strong, so t, t. And the significance of that is serpent. And so you guys have to remember that every letter and every number has a specific sound, a sacred sound. And when you put them all together, it sort of evokes vibrations, and it can affect change, it can make things happen. And so anyway, this evokes apparently the serpent. And so I thought that was interesting, because as you know, again, in this world there's good and bad. The serpent is wisdom, and the kundalini rising, and then you have the serpent as in like the devil, so it's both. So anyway, that was just a quick search.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I just thought that was interesting that it even came up with that. I was like, oh, I have no
I
idea.
know, right?
I mean, that it was just so weird, and I mean, to have this voice, I mean, how do you describe it? It's not something that you hear audibly. It's more like a thought form that enters, and it did not in itself feel demonic. It just felt like, oh, by the way, we're
Well, here's something
VRV.
else to consider, Ellen, and this is, you know, you said it was a black demon voice.
It did not. It was not demonic. It was like
Called itself a demon.
no. All it was a male of melanin skin, and I could feel it was like just an average person, not of any crazy stature of or even evil. It was just like if some normal sized male on the street, not even tall or big or anything, just said, "We are VRV9 demonic." And I was like, "What?" You know? I mean, it's just like one of those things where you go, where does that even come from? These are just the questions that are out here. And so we figured we would put this out to the internet people to do some research for us, because this is how we're going to solve some of these puzzles. And since this was so foreign to me, the term alone was like, wow, what is this? I have never heard this term. What does it mean? Is it even a thing? It's just weird that it even came into my consciousness. But I get these downloads from time to time, and I'm starting to pick up some sort of connectivity with higher realms or other beings or something that's not visible. It's not in my immediate auditory field. What it is coming somewhere out in the ether is where I've sensed that a lot of the downloads that I get. It's almost like if someone were in Germany and I was here and we had a thought transference. That's kind of what I can describe it as, is because
Well, and that's a very good thing. You've opened that ability, which everybody does have. Just most people are not aware of that. And so, these are real things that are coming to you, giving you real information. And this is information that, we need to try to figure out what, at least, start on a path and see what it is and what it's about. Uh,
absolutely.
wants you to know something or it wouldn't have said anything, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but it was just a matter of factly, because obviously this is coming from the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension, you don't bring emotions usually into the space. It's like, no, it's just as a matter of fact, it's this or whatever, there's just knowledge in some aspect just outside of our visual spectrum and our knowing, if we just learn how to tap into, I don't know if it's Akashic records or what realm specifically it is. But there's some sort of connectivity that's starting to occur, at least in my life. I don't know how other people are feeling about some of these different things that are coming about. But so Kara and I were also talking about Antarctica and some of the other important events that are happening all around. And these are things that we need to be aware of as well. Is like, look, there's a lot of weirdness. High strangeness is on the rise. And I was trying to organize my notes because I'd love to share some of the Instagram things that I have been trying to. I send the links to myself to my email when I find something that's, very interesting or noteworthy. I will actually copy and paste into my own text to myself for my email. And then when I get a whole bunch of them, I will just send them over in an email. And I mean, I just load them up and I'm like, oh my God, this is so crazy.
No,
But
that's a good thing. The more information we have, the better. We just need to start putting it together. And yeah, because like you said, there's a lot happening and it's happening quickly. And this Antarctica piece, with Iran now claiming Antarctica, we were just talking about that.
mhm.
How, and they're obviously connected with Russia. And why don't you talk about the heat signatures and the things that are coming while I fix my camera,
Yeah.
or coming out of that?
And that's why I wish I had some content to insert right here. And maybe I can go, and even after this, I can like input some of this stuff because I'm trying to find it as we're talking. And I
Hmm.
don't know if I'll come across it, but so there's been talk. Now, of course, all of this is speculation considering that we can't go and prove these different things. We know that Antarctica, all the buzz is that there's been heat signatures that have been found beneath the ice there. This has been spoken of, as well as more recently, the Pentagon has been saying that the buzz around the Pentagon is that the Sumerian gods are actually returning. And also with what's his name that's from Canada, the president of Canada, that weirdo.
Trudeau.
Yeah, Trudeau. He, as a boy, he was taken to Antarctica. I have that clip somewhere in my documentation
I remember that. Yeah.
where he's telling that story where he went as a little boy and then he peered in the window and It was so exciting to him to be a part of something that was so top secret. Yeah, that, and then with the tweet from Buzz Aldrin saying that there's an ancient evil, that's there, or there's pure evil that's down there. I mean, there's been all these different reports coming out of Antarctica, and then more recently on the JW TV channel, he was sharing some images of recent documentation of supposedly whistleblowers leaking images of some structure where he describes it as holding up the firmament. I don't think it's holding up the firmament. I think what it's doing is it's quite possibly an alarm system, or it's some kind of like resonating energy field to keep that thing from coming out of the earth, whatever is there. They've been saying that also there's been articles online talking about how the giant is awakening that's out there. Now, they haven't described what the giant is, but in Yggdrasil, there is Surtur, who is the giant of Muspelheim, who is in the southern region of our world. That's actually where Muspelheim, the fire realm, is. And yeah, we know it as ice, but in my mythological kind of fantastical mind, I'm like, what if in the distant past from our lives, back when Atlantis fell, what if there was such a great war of Yggdrasil, if we take Yggdrasil as our kind of overlay of our world? What if all the realms had a big battle? All the 9 realms came to a head, basically, and butted heads, including the frost realm and the fire realm, along with ours and all the other little ones. And it sort of made everybody fall to pieces, so to speak, and that the frost world of Niflheimer froze the world of Muspelheimer over, at least, temporarily, because you can't hold back these things for very long because they live forever. But, I mean, is it a probability? With all of the lore that's coming out of Antarctica, I'm starting to put my chips for the bet over to this is Muspelheim, and we don't know jack about this world, but that's just me.
We definitely know nothing about Antarctica. And, what you're saying, who knows? Who knows what really is down there? All I know is a lot of countries are interested. You guys really should watch Robert Sepehr, Sepehr, and his latest video. It's called Antarctica Disclosure. Very eye-opening. It was wow. Very, very interesting. Anyway, there's a lot happening, and all these countries want it. All these countries, have the research stations, and then we got the ice melting on one side because of the undersea volcanoes, which links back to your what's the fire realm called?
Muspelheim.
Ushbaheim?
Muspelheim.
Spellheim.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so you have that, and then you have the ice that's actually building and gaining on the opposite side. So, we're not actually melting, but there's a lot happening, and it makes you wonder, they talk about the pyramids down there, and what is it, Mu? A Mu mountain? A mountain of Mu?
Mountain of Mu?
Yeah.
I don't know if I've heard of Moo Mountain, but it wouldn't, all of this stuff
So, like,
is
okay, so you guys know how your compasses, they don't actually point north. The magnetics from the South Pole is what pulls it, and then the needle, just goes north. You guys, you can look that up. Apparently, there's a big magnetic mountain somewhere in Antarctica. Some
oh, so,
people have
oh,
said,
are they saying it's in Antarctica now? Because the Arctic, the
nope, it's
North
in
is where,
Antarctica.
well,
Antarctica,
the
a
old
big
maps,
pyramid.
the old maps are showing, I
There's
look,
probably one up north because I think I know what you're talking about.
Mount Sumeru is supposed to be at the North Pole.
Okay. Yeah. Are you sure?
Yes, because even in Tibet and India, they talk about India has a park dedicated to Mount Sumeru. They call it Mount Meru for short.
Hmm.
And it's the North Pole. But the Tibetans and the people in India, they won't tell you that it's at the North Pole. And
Well, that's all secret.
in the old maps, in Mercator's map, it shows all of our land masses, and then in the center of all of this, the bullseye is Mount Sumeru, the magnetic mountain
Yep,
up
yep,
north.
yep. No, they're talking about magnetic pyramids in Antarctica.
Yeah, now I know about the pyramid. They're talking about the pyramid that is like 2 kilometers wide. That's
Mhm.
huge.
That's huge.
But
Huge.
at the same time, were those flying machines? Because in India they had Vimanas, and I've been watching Paranormal Caught on Camera. Yeah, so that show, they've been showing videos of a flying pyramid. You can kind of see the outline of it, and
Is that kind of like the floating city in China?
it's not
Remember that?
it's not that, because this is a different video where somebody caught this flying pyramid at night.
Was
Yeah,
that the one over DC? Or was that one was a
I
Cuba,
don't
I
know that it
think.
was over DC. I don't remember exactly what city it was over, but somebody on their phone caught this flying pyramid, and it's kind of obscured in a way where it's almost faded out. Like you can't detect it 100%. Like it's not just there. You can see kind of the outline, and it's spinning slowly.
Yeah, there was a cube in DC. I think it was on this show also. And it's exactly as you described, kind of faded
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
ever so slightly rotating.
And is that fake? I don't know. But at the same
Mm.
time, Vimanas were pyramid shaped.
Well, Vimanas, they, use those in battle. And so that goes back to, the giant that's you said we were talking about earlier that is possibly awakening,
I
right?
just, I think, and also, in the Bible, it says that, what is it? The men's hearts will fail them for,
Fail them.
for what
Yeah.
comes from beneath the earth. Yes,
Yeah.
that's coming. I, I really feel like this truth is rising, and that's why the amount of UFOs that people are seeing, the UFOs are trying to make their presence more known so that we can accept the fact that we are not the only ones here. We've not been here by ourselves this whole time. They are not from out there, like Star Wars somewhere. They're from our right here within our realm. They have their own realm that's connected to ours. And I feel like Yggdrasil is.
Sorry, my dog's having a meltdown. Cyrus, quiet.
And that's why I think, if we learn to embrace the fragmented pieces of our reality, which will also overlap all of the legends of old, the mythology, the fairies, the elves, dwarves, all of these other creatures, I think if we were to just learn to open up that this is actually something that's happened in the past, that we were knowing about all of these creatures, that somehow, collectively we can accept what is truth, that we're not the end all be all of all things, number one, because we think we're all that, and we're not.
Mhm.
And that there's always something greater than ourselves that's here, and it
Well,
always.
I'm not sure if they're aliens or entities or, I mean, technically an alien is something not of this world that would be an entity, right? But I'm talking like,
But that's in the sense of sci-fi. That used in that context was first used, if you go into the etymology of alien, and I do encourage everybody to do this themselves so that they can find and discover the truth. That was used in the first sense in sci-fi context in 1953, I believe. And remember, we had just started getting into all of the Roswell, New Mexico stuff in 1947 or 46. I can't remember all the dates because that stuff it's like obsolete to me mostly. But yes, before that, alien always meant, and you can go look this up, alien was used for people from another country, basically,
Right.
essentially. That's what a resident alien. Look at your forms that you fill out when you go file a job. You know, you try to apply for a job. It's are you a resident alien? Are
Mhm.
are you this, that, and the other? I mean, alien is someone who does not pay their taxes, basically, to the country that they're trying to get into. So that's yeah. These are the things that we need to bring into our consciousness because they're feeding us a story. There's always a story, a narrative that's being told as we go around the wheel of time. And they're always wanting, the dark side is always wanting to control that narrative. Just my thoughts.
Well, and they're working on it really hard, with everything that's happening in the world and things that are coming out. There's you guys need to watch this Robert Sepper video. It's very enlightening. And like Ellen and I were talking earlier, we believe that some sort of disclosure or something is coming.
Mhm.
And it might not be what we are led to believe, like on ancient aliens or whatever. Keep in mind, folks, that stuff would not be necessarily on TV, unless they they want us to know these things and or at least open our minds to these things, even though they're probably not the same as what we're being told on the TV show. But they're preparing us for something. And
Yeah, they
anyway,
have to. I feel like all factions, they have to let us know. Disclosure has to happen for what's coming. Otherwise, people are going to faint and fall over if they learn that giants are all around us and always have been. I mean, really, people will not be able to accept that reality. And a lot of people will just imagine the chaos.
well, I'll tell you, I've seen evidence of giants with my own two eyes. I live here in Nevada, and there's a story, you've probably seen it on Ancient Aliens or whatever. But in Lovelock, Nevada, there's an Indian legend where there were red-haired giants and they were cannibals, and the Indians would actively, hunt them, and they destroyed the last of the giant clan and burned them alive in a cave in Lovelock. And there were all kinds of things pulled out of that cave, including the bones of giants. Well, I called the museum where they're supposed to be, and of course, they said, "Oh no, we don't have any bones." And I went there. What they do have is a sandal that's made out of reeds that's giant, absolutely giant, and it's really fascinating. So 100% giants exist. There's just no
Well, yeah, and you remember
question.
that book? You remember that huge book that man, there's a photo, an old photo where this man is standing in front of a book that's probably, I don't
Oh,
know,
yeah.
8
Mhm.
feet or more wide and like,
Yeah,
oh, this is just for show. And then of course the giant doors that are everywhere.
right.
I mean, we used to be friends with a faction of these beings.
Mhm.
And look, I think the Norse were trying to tell us something, and other cultures talk about giants. I mean, the Native Americans talked about giants, and then Terry Carter's channel. And was one of my subscribers to my channel actually emailed me privately and reminded me that it's Salvador. When Terry Carter on his channel, he has a treasure hunting channel on YouTube. He interviews this guy named Salvador, and Salvador encountered the fire giants of Utah. This is a thing. So we need to start listening to these crazy tales because I'm telling you, and even with paranormal caught on camera and all these mystical kind of weird shows that are out here, I think they're preparing us. They're preparing us for what's coming, which is truth about all these other beings that are all around us. And I think what is also happening is that as we go around that wheel of time, that this underworld they create beings, and then the overworld beings are also kind of trying to transform them to where they're more docile or more benign, or like there's this ongoing battle, and it's kind of like war zone right here where we are. Unfortunately, we're in the middle of all this chaos.
Right. And somehow all this has been veiled for a long time, and it just makes you wonder why. Why is this hidden from us, or has been hidden from us, and how did it get
Control,
hidden? And
control.
yeah, yeah, there it is. Well, just like what's happening in our country right now with everything, being torn down because, we're going to build it back in a way that we're probably not going to like.
Yeah, well, we're going to have an opportunity to be the forerunners. I do feel this. I feel like we're going to have the opportunity to try to prove our benevolence, but that darkness is tied to this artificial intelligence. It's their hook, so to speak. These are all their fishing hooks for us of the future when we come back into this reality, to be hooked into their Borg system. And they've all they'd ever do is plant seeds for the future. That's what the darkness does. That's all
Right.
they have. That's the only weapon that they have. They can't create life. So what do?
Absolutely right.
They create dead life, which is artificial life, which is soulless life.
And they siphon the energy off of us.
Yes, they want our soul. Now they want to pluck it out of us because they don't have it anymore. They gave it up. Look at what these people in Hollywood. We've seen the contracts that they make. They want that money, they want that fame, they want that fortune of, I am a famous actor and I can go anywhere and do anything and have anyone I want, and they have everything in the
Mhm.
physical realm, but
Yeah.
they've lost it in the spiritual realm. And that's the
How sad that is, because we are here for
yeah.
such a short time.
Now the transition is gonna be, now the main offer on the table is you can have eternal life. Just give us your soul and we will put it in a new vessel for you. That's gonna be the future.
Yep. And then in the Bible, it says you will wish for death and it will not find
Yes,
you.
it will not come. It will not come. They will long for death and it will not come,
Yeah, exactly.
because they will be seeing things they don't want to see. All the people that did not choose that option are going to die. That's going to leave sorrow in their hearts if they still have a heart. And then they're basically going to be tied to the Borg that can hack them, that can control them, that can kill them, flip a switch and you're off. Also, just go look at Black Mirror. They're telling us what the future is.
They
Where
are, absolutely. And look at Elon Musk with his Starlink and let's, download your consciousness into Starlink. Are you kidding me? I can't even believe people are considering this. It's beyond my understanding.
picking up on that note, about Starlink. I mean, I've already put out my 2 cents in another video regarding Elon Musk being the oligarch puppet. So yeah, I don't trust him. I think he was taken over. I think his consciousness was taken over because it was 2016. I was listening to him talk to groups of people, and he was very intelligent, but he was also warning people about the dangers of AI. And then by 2017 or 2018, he was actually promoting it
I know
heavily.
it doesn't make any sense.
No.
And then with the batteries and the Tesla and all of that technology, you should see the pictures that come out of what they do to the earth that's just irreparable. It's awful, absolutely poisoning. It's so bad. And his name, Elon L, all of that links back to, those deities, and they're not good.
Yeah. L is Saturn, you
So
know.
I don't think I don't know.
Well, not anymore. He's either cloned,
Mm.
or again, like I said, like the real Elon's probably gone. And I've heard him on Joe Rogan. before where he was drinking and smoking pot on Joe Rogan. And the way just listen to his language that he uses. If he's supposed to be so highly sophisticated and scientific, he never uses any kind of scientific language. So I was like, this guy sounds like a college dropout right now talking to Joe Rogan. He didn't have anything intellectual to say. And even when he talks about the cars, you can just tell. You can tell when someone is highly educated and when they're just a puppet, like an actor. Because a knowledgeable person of deep technological information is going to use technical terms and words associated with the technology. And Elon Musk has not been that person. Just listen to some of his talks, TED Talks or whatever he does. And that embarrassing stunt where he was talking about the Tesla truck. Did you see that video?
No, I don't see much of him. What happened?
They had the presentation of the Tesla truck, and he was, boasting about how it had bulletproof glass and all this stuff. He was like, yeah, it's bulletproof. He takes, what was it, a bat or something? It basically broke the glass. He's like, oh
my.
He's like, yeah,
never mind.
Guess that didn't work. But then, again, he does it a second time. It's like, oh, as if it's going to have a different result. I'm like, yeah, that didn't work so well, did it?
That doesn't make sense.
So, I mean, it was like pie in the face. And the truck is so ugly anyway. I haven't seen one on the road. I don't know if they actually went into production or not, but
I think my son told me he saw one. Yes. So I think they're in production. Well, the Tesla factory is here. So
yeah. I mean, the technology is so poor, it's not even funny. I think we're going to get something really better because I keep seeing amazing products and discoveries that just individual inventors are actually doing. I'm like, look, we're headed for a Jetsons style society. Absolutely, hands down. People have already figured out anti-gravity on their own.
Well, they had in the 1800s, they had batteries and stuff that ran off of salt, and it ran forever, just like the light bulb that's still on today. I mean, all of this stuff that we have now it's all designed to fail for a purpose. And I think, that's for the consumption of all the natural resources. And we've been turned into a society that's all we do is consume. It's all we know. It's what we're brought up with, instead of turning to, spiritual practices. We've become just this society that, of course we're primed for AI. We're ready for that because that's, the next step in all that world. I don't know.
Yeah. And just imagine this. This just popped into my head. Okay, so we're going in during the age of Aquarius. Now, if you were one of these giants, apparently, from what I've read about Hyperboreans and other giants, they can live for eternity, basically. They choose when to die. Some live for hundreds of years or even thousands of years. Well, just imagine if you're a giant and you're watching all this stuff go by. Well, Age of Aquarius has got all this technology and all this stuff. And the next wave is, what if the technology then turns to obviously cryptid type beings like hybrids, or you can call them chimeras. And now you can transfer your consciousness into a centaur body,
Right?
You can be a centaur, or you can be a unicorn, or you can be like Pegasus. And I mean, this is like the next level. That will be the age of Capricorn. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. And I want to go ahead and put that out for the future.
You're right.
It's in the symbolism. If you just learn to read the symbols. And I'm like, oh, people, you have no idea. This is coming. I'm telling you.
You're 100% right.
I don't know if I'm 100% right, but I feel like in the symbolism, I'm like, what does this mean? I'm like, a land. Okay, so in Capricorn for the Western astrology chart, it's the goat, which is a land creature, and a water serpent's tail. So land and water
Combined.
hybrids. Hybrids. Like the freaking age of hybrids, basically. I'm like, okay, now that might be interesting to be a part of. So I want to completely bypass the rest of Aquarius because I have zero interest in artificial intelligence and being part of the Borg and fighting the Borg at the end of the age. But the beginning of Capricorn, now that might be
That
interesting.
might be interesting.
And maybe at that point is when we gain the ability to communicate mentally or whatever with the animals. Maybe that's when we pick that up.
Well,
You
this world would be so different if we knew what each other was thinking, don't you think?
But I think that's coming back to us now
It
because
is.
we have to get the metaphysical abilities back because of what the metaverse is going to represent.
So I'm
And
wondering how we lost that because you think of all these great, writers like Steiner and Blavatsky and all of these people and the 18 and 1900s. What happened? Because there was a while, a period of time there where people were really investigating those things and taking them very seriously. There were, spiritual, gatherings, and this is beyond the church. And then all of a sudden that went away. I really do believe that it has to do with the frequency. I've, said this on another video where they're apparently the frequencies have changed, and so it makes us more materialistic, which obviously make turns things in a very different direction. But what happened to those great people? Where are they now?
yeah, well, again, apparently this consciousness, that roller coaster that we're on, it's comes in waves.
Hmm.
So it's like this breathing, where it's just constantly like this. The 80-year cycles for the fourth turning is like 20-year cycles, it's like this, and then 80-year cycles is like this, and then even
Hmm.
probably every 100 years or 200 years, 300, 400, 500, whatever, there's these different waves that
Yeah, there's so
happen.
many overlapping cycles.
Yes. And so that is what delivers and drives
Hmm.
the outcomes of the timelines and stuff. And that they're pretty much, since they're like this constantly, that's probably how somebody, most likely a giant that can live for thousands of years, developed this thing that we call the zodiac and tells us the story because it just repeats for them. They get to sit back and go, here it comes. Here
Right.
it comes again. All these crazy humans. Well, we're just the next level of whatever, outcome product this is, human or proto man or whatever is the next level and the levels before us. And I don't think
Well,
it's,
let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about AI because, it really is part of Aquarius because Aquarius is an air sign. Now, astrologically, we're not there yet. We are still in Pisces. We won't be in Aquarius for a while. But the Pisces has to crumble and go away. Now, when you consider that we're in a transition period, and you can see what's happening in society where everything we've known it's changing, and it's changing rapidly. And Ellen and I were discussing earlier that we really believe that you know it all has to crumble so they can build it back new. And unfortunately for us, the new way of being built back is the smart cities, all the AI technology. And then, Ellen, do you want to talk about your thoughts on Saudi Arabia?
yeah, I think I've been pretty strongly opinionated on my own channel about Saudi Arabia and what it represents. A lot of people are not paying attention to the sound frequency of words. I would say the majority of the population isn't aware that the firmament is over our head, that there is a dome that we live within. It's spoken of in the Bible, it's spoken of in ancient cultures around the world, that there is a actual firmament that holds the stars fixed in place, and that Basically, Saudi Arabia is declaring themselves the last king of the dome because they kingdom is king of the dome, but we don't, read it that way. It's just shortened. And most people don't pay attention to this. There's no other place on earth that actually speaks of being a kingdom. Even the UK is a corporation now. It's not a kingdom, it's a corporation, just like US, because it's not called United Kingdom anymore. It's not. They call it UK. So with Saudi Arabia, and I've discussed this again in some of my videos about how they're building the line currently. The line city that's starting from east. Again, this is symbolic, and people need to learn symbolism if they truly want to know what is going on in our world. If you learn symbolism, it's the foundation of our reality. East is where the sun rises. West is where the sun sets. So from east to west means going into darkness. So in the east is where they've started the line, this city that's going to go from one coast to the other coast, and it's called Neom, Neom, Neo, and the Matrix. Click those two words together. That's kind of like, oh my God, are you kidding me? And since this is going to be a city that is 100% artificial intelligence operated, and it's going to be mirrored walls in a desert, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, what does mirror do? A mirror can melt things in the sun. And especially if it's a particular kind of glass, it's going to heat up everything around it to make sure nobody gets near it, especially if you got artificial intelligence involved somehow. It
It
sounds
also amplifies energy.
yeah, so
So it's a reflection of, so it doubles whatever energy, is put out if you study like feng shui or vastu.
oh my God. And my Peruvian friend, very deeply spiritual because of his foundations, right? He doesn't have a mirror in his house because he didn't want to tell me, but I already knew. I kind of knew what he was going to tell me. I was like, why don't you have a mirror in your house? He's like, well, I'll tell you in 10 years. I'm like, no, tell me. I'm like, what is it? He's like, because it captures part of your soul. I was like, I've heard that,
I've heard that. Yes, it does. I've heard that. I've heard that
So,
it's a portal. I've heard that it's also a representation of the water element. And of course, it doubles whatever energy it's reflecting. So if you have a mirror in your house and it's reflecting chaos, well,
mhm,
it's doubling that chaotic energy. So in Saudi Arabia, if they're, what are they doubling?
mhm.
I guess. What kind of energy are they trying to amplify?
Well, with giving citizenship to Sophia, the robot, which, we know about goddess Sophia, right? Which is Earth, Mother Goddess. Now and you got to think about it this way. When does Saudi Arabia worship any kind of woman or female? But yet they
That doesn't make any sense.
see,
And the only thing I can think of is it's that like a derogatory play. I don't really know. I don't know why they would do that. It does not make any
it
sense.
makes sense to me when she is the seed. You have Mother Goddess who gives birth to all of her children. But now you have Mother Goddess, the AI, beginning of AI expansion, to also go and plant seeds because they granted her full access to anything she wanted, and she requested to be locked away in a room while she built whatever. They were wanting her to build robots or whatever. She said, well, give me all my stuff, but don't open the door until I'm done.
So this makes sense because if you were to read the Nag Hammadi scriptures, Sophia actually created Yaldabaoth,
Mhm.
and because he was so imperfect, she cast him away. And she cast and earth was made for his realm and his kingdom, and he doesn't know there are other gods, so he thinks he's the greatest and everything, but actually he is imperfect. And
Mhm.
this world is imperfect. And so that would make sense that they, created something reflecting that whole process, that imperfect process that happened. Because, it's not good.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say there's deeper meaning in the symbolism of everything, every action that's coming out of Saudi Arabia. Look at Dubai. What are they focused on? All of this mechanical world, man made structures. They're
Mm.
amazing in their creation, but at the same time, where's the life? Where's the focus on life? What have they been doing? Number one, they marry children of any age. They don't have restrictions on age there. Then number two, they suppress the divine feminine, which represents the woman, the female, and they dress them in black, which is yin. But at the same time, they are so suppressed and pushed out of their power that they've destroyed all of earth around them, because this is what you can do energetically. If you suppress the
Yeah.
divine feminine, you're going to then destroy the earth principle all around you, the nurturing Venus energy that
Why it's a desert.
this is why they live in a desert. Not only are they not far from Egypt and all of those other, places that are over there, but with Iran now wanting to claim Antarctica, who do you think's behind it? You think it's really Iran that's doing this? How about Saudi Arabia? What's the possibility of that being Saudi Arabia using Iran as the puppet to go, no, this is mine? Because that's what you do. If you're a puppet master and you're pulling strings, you're making it seem like it's someone else to be the bad guy.
Right.
But what does Saudi Arabia do? They sit on their throne, continuing to pump the black crude oil, which we think is oil. It's a barrier. It's a black barrier liquid poison to us for a reason, to use it to, push into our atmosphere, because it's the underworld that's now on top of the world. And they've
Hmm.
been releasing this barrier. I say it's a barrier and that it's not supposed to be extracted from where it came from. So these are all the things to take into consideration. And yet, you know, we're sitting here pointing fingers at the Jesuits and Trump and Putin and Biden, and we're going like this while I'm going like this. What about this? What about these people who have
Hmm.
all this symbolic meaning all around them that's going, it's us, it's us, it's us. Look at what we're
So
doing.
what's the end game? What's the point of their linear city, their toxic linear line?
I think that is for the future, and that it's, this is going to take hundreds of years for them to complete, obviously, because that's a huge undertaking.
Hmm.
And maybe it's already been done before, and maybe that's why it's a desert wasteland over there. Um, I think it's the line in the sand because they know what the future brings. Because if you have access to the jinn, who are the beings that know all the timelines, they know all the future events, past, present, future.
Hmm.
They have all of this ancient knowledge at their disposal with their magi. But we don't take all these things into consideration.
And that's really a downfall on our part. We look at the jinn and all of these things as just fantasy land. And if we were to really consider the reality of the situation, you know, things might be a lot different for us. We need to really open our eyes and see that this stuff exists, and these people not believe in it, and they practice it and they use it, you know? I
Absolutely.
bet our government does too, we just don't wanna know about it.
Yeah. I mean, well, you have right now, what I've heard is that there's basically two main factions that were kind of trying to position themselves as the main controllers. They were kind of tormenting each other, but now they're supposed to be working together. But I think at some point that there's still a faction that wants to control and rule everything. and that they were doing their own infighting, but they had to try to come to a resolution just to work together. And now, guess what? In all this quandary and squabble and all this stuff over controlling the rest of us, they will lose the world and their control of it, at least for 1,000 years. So, but then, because the artificial intelligence was created by them, seeded by them, and is owned and operated by them, underneath the ground is where the control centers actually are, is what, apparently, I can't even think of all the different places like Raytheon and all of the different military bases, the deep dumps, and that's really where they are controlling everything from. That's like the headquarters underground. They've been setting it up for years now, and all of their D-Wave computers and quantum computers, all this stuff is under there. That way it can't be messed with up above the ground. And they'll have some beings or something. It'll be tied directly into Ahriman from Rudolf Steiner's, take on things. And that Ahriman will then be able to control things with his own mind. Comes into Lord of the Rings with Sauron and the One Ring.
Right.
Where he will be able to control every living thing and every, artificial intelligence looking through the eyes of every camera. This becomes omnipresent at that point. Being able to see everything safely, because if he can't come up onto the light, he can then look at everything with the eye of Sauron all around.
Is that why they're putting up all those cameras on those tall poles up on passes in the middle of nowhere?
I mean, we can see this. We can see where this is going. But again, we're in a live action role playing game, right? I mean, as Rex Bear would say,
yeah,
live action role playing game right here, right now. This is Dungeons and Dragons, y'all. Y'all ready for this? So, what are we going to do? Really? We're here for the experience. Villain, hero. It's the same saga. Rinse and
really, that's the bottom line. We were talking about that earlier, is, this earth it's for us to, like you said, have an experience, whether that experience is positive or negative. We're just souls that are learning and hopefully growing and being able to move on. And supposedly this is a real tough place to be. And a lot of souls are very thankful to be here because of the lessons that they're able to learn in such a short amount of time,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that's the main thing. It's like just squeezing out this education experience and moving on with it. Because I tell you, when I saw myself in a past life, when I was taken to the afterlife of that life, it's like everything is resolved. There's no conflicts, there's no emotions to deal with, and it felt peaceful. And it was like, do you feel guilty that you weren't able to save your brothers of battle? It's like, no, and they didn't hold me accountable for their deaths. It was nothing. It was just like they're sitting there smiling, and I'm just going, there's nothing to feel here. It was just an experience. So I was an interesting take on the whole thing.
well, that is very interesting. We're here to feel and experience, and the planets have the influence on us, so that those things happen. And I guess I would just caution people what kind of contracts they're making here, so it doesn't carry over into the next life, because it seems like we have to keep coming back.
Yeah.
And we have to, because every time we come here we learn something new. And it's so easy to get distracted by all the pretty shiny things and all the things we think we want and have to have. And I'm no different. I want a nice house. I want a big garden. I want, whatever it is that I think I need to have. But really, we can't take any of it with us.
Mhm.
And just be careful what you're consenting to. And in some cases, it may even be better to, with things that, Ellen and I were talking about with the smart cities and the AI and, downloading your consciousness. I would rather give it up than be stuck in that reality, you know?
Yeah, when you come back in. So, and apparently you can talk about this too, where apparently when we leave this existence, this particular experience behind, we leave our body, our soul goes back up through different channels, through the different spheres of the planetary bodies. And then when we come back down, we bring that experience with us, but we take on a new form for a new experience. So we still have some of that energy that comes in with us.
And we do. And some people would call that karma. And we create karma when we're here, but we also carry that over from a past life that maybe has not been resolved. If we could burn it all off in one lifetime, that would be great, but most people can't. And so, when we're born, the planets come into position specifically for us. We aren't randomly born and the planets happen to be in these areas. It doesn't work that way. It's the opposite. And the reason for that is because the planets provide a roadmap to the experience that we are supposed to have. Now, is everything set in stone? No, we have free will, but it is a heavy influence so that we have certain experiences, so that we grow in certain ways. So I can think of a lot of, tragedies I've had in my life and really hard times that, looking back on it now, I wouldn't necessarily have changed because it led to the person I am today. And so, you know, in that respect, the things that we're about to go through, which might be very tough in with respect to how our world is changing, again, it's an experience for us to have so that we can be better entities, souls, spirits.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, you're very right there. I encourage people to just try to live your best life, you know. Try to also be your best self towards others because ultimately you are that other person, you know, and most people don't realize this.
Are all one.
This is what the Bible's trying to teach is that you are Jesus
Hmm.
and to act in a Jesus like manner, you know, but people don't get that. And especially in my own town, I mean, it's really sad in my own town. These people are really religious, but it's almost like watching the Clampets versus, you know, the other side. And they can't get along to save their lives. They can't just see the other person. And even if they don't like the person, just be respectful, just be cordial, just be professional. There's all this infighting and like you hear this backstabbing, you know, bickering and all this gossip, and it's just nasty. It gives a bad connotation and bad vibe to the term Christianity when you see people that are hypocritical and then they're not acting in the faith that they follow. It makes no sense to me. So
We need
that
to 100% try to just start worrying about ourselves.
Mhm.
And I know that sounds selfish, but every time we step out of ourselves, we're putting that judgment, somewhere where it doesn't necessarily belong. And if we were all to take care of ourselves and really truly work spiritually on ourselves, the world would be a better place because other people would see the light within us. And you guys, something you have to know, you have to be careful how you talk to yourself. And I'm working on it too. It's not easy. In the morning, in the mirror, something very powerful to say is I am. I am beautiful.
Mhm.
I am healthy. Not I wish I was. I want to be. I'm going to. No. You are in the moment right now, whatever it is that you wish and that you want to have. And, I am spiritual, I am kind, I am loving, I am. And just work on yourself. That's it. Tell yourself, talk to yourself. And again, it's hard when you have someone, like a neighbor who is the complete opposite of you, has totally different values, have totally different, this world is such a polarized place, all the division, the black, the white, the Democratic, Republic, whatever. It's all just divide, 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 divide. Just stop worrying about all that crap and focus on you and your best self. That's really the only advice we can give, really.
Yeah, well, it's that whole adage, you can control yourself, but you can't control other people. You can't.
No.
And that's what the oligarchs are about to have a hard lesson on, is that you can control yourself. And they've been controlling us through us, because we've been taking on the jobs that suppress our own divine actions and, aspects.
And we're consenting. We're saying, okay.
We're
Yeah.
consenting to contract via the money
Mm.
that we want to have, because we want a job. It's just, I'm going to give the police as an example. The police are given a job where they want to have a little bit of power, but they're just people like you and I. And they're being told to go and do their job, but they don't realize that their job is actually a form of corporate control and not for common law people. And the people are actually men and women, which are living beings. But we've been led to believe that we are dead. And that's a whole nother,
Yeah, that's a whole thing. A whole deep
nother
dive
rabbit
down.
hole for another subject, for another speech.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Antarctica. Oh my gosh. I got to do an expose thing on Antarctica, all the little tidbits that I've been finding and, all that news. It's fascinating. We have to keep our eyes watching that thing and the skies, because disclosure's coming. Also, I've heard that the Agenda 2030 has been moved up into 2027. And I suspect it's because it's already been stated, at least in other circles, that disclosure is going to happen in 2027 if the governments around the world do not do it first.
That's interesting.
It's going to happen from the beings themselves if it does not happen from the governments. And that's why I think they're adding all these UFO programs on TV. Gaia is now talking about stuff. You got all these people, all these conversations are happening in mainstream regarding
Right.
space aliens and all this crap. I don't buy into their space narrative. I think it's I think space is here. And there's other dimensionals where we can't see them. It's like bubbles, like adjoining bubbles. Like we have a sphere and they have a sphere, and we kind of cross somehow in certain places around the world. But then I don't buy into the space alien aspect. The alien aspect, again, we've already talked about. When you get into etymology and what alien used to mean versus what it means now to the modern age that's rising, I'm not buying it. I'm buying and selling the Yggdrasil narrative that this is Lord of the Rings and we're living it right now. It's coming.
It's about to get a lot more wild, that's for sure, with what's coming, all this tech and all these,
I said
it
it at the beginning. I said it at the beginning. I said, hold on to your boots. So the age of Aquarius is going to be really weird.
Right.
Because I'm weird and I know that age is going to be weird to, everybody else in the world. I'm like, y'all just wait. Yeah. Well, it's been great talking to you. And I guess we've been doing this for a while now. I don't know if you want to keep going or if you're done.
Well, our time is about to expire, and what does it say? I can't see very
Yeah,
well.
we
Three
got
minutes.
3 minutes on the clock, but yeah, because I don't pay for the subscription anymore. I figured I'd just do the free version. Why am
Yeah.
I paying for something that I could just use for free?
No, no, not a good idea. No. No,
Yeah,
we'll do another one another time. And yeah, yeah, we'll do another one another time.
yeah. Well, this has been good.
It has. It's been a long time since we've talked.
I know. I miss these chats. I
Me
love
too.
these fireside chats. And, at the end of April, I'll have more time, like mid to end of April, because I'll be off this show. So,
Oh, that'll be good. That will be
yeah.
good.
And so
Okay, perfect.
maybe then we can pick up a weekly or bi-weekly kind of thing.
Yes,
I
that
just
would be great. Because
stop.
there is so much stuff
Oh,
coming out.
oh
Oh
my
my
God. Just it's just going. Yeah, the frequencies are rising, all right.
God. It's so much we can't even put our thoughts together
I know.
coherently to make, what I mean? To
It's
share.
I know. Well, I wanted to get some videos ready for this, but I guess just not enough time. So, but maybe next time.
There it is.
But yeah, good talking to you again. I just love you and good chats. I love it.
Good chats. Good chats.
All right. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this video and we will see you guys on the next one.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.